What's up, my friends? It is Stormy, of course, aka Mr. Gallows, aka Master of the Mortal Engines, in Maine anyway, because you know I'd totally turn Maine into a mortal engine if I could. In fact, I'm probably going to do it this afternoon. I'm going to get on that. But anyway, guys, welcome back to another Fresh from the Theater reaction. And today, I just returned from seeing Mortal Engines. And what is my initial reaction fresh from the theater? Well, it was pretty good. Yeah, guys, I mean, unfortunately, I'm a little bit disappointed at leaving the theater once again. You know, what a surprise, 2018 has just, not been a great year for movies. There have been a couple of hidden gems here and there, definitely, but not a fantastic year for movies. And here, once again, I'm unfortunately walking out of the theater pretty disappointed with Mortal Engines. And, this is just, God, I'm really, really upset. I was so excited to see this movie. I mean, I really was. And, it had nothing to do with Peter Jackson. I know he was attached to this film. It had nothing to do with Peter Jackson. I saw the trailers for this movie and I was like, that looks awesome. That looks epic. That looks so amazing. I cannot wait to go see this film. And, this movie, within the first 20 minutes of watching this movie, I knew we were in trouble, I knew we were going downhill, and it just continued to kind of gradually go downhill. It wasn't a nosedive, I'll give it that, it wasn't a nosedive, but it just gradually started to go downhill. And the problem with this movie is the characters. Like, they're just so shallow. I would definitely say that that's the biggest issue with this movie. And, because look, when you're talking about a movie like this that is just a huge epic action set piece, right? Because that's what it is. You don't necessarily need a super creative story. It's okay if your story is a little bit generic. A perfect example of that is Mad Max Fury Road. It's an amazing movie, one of my favorite movies of all time, definitely in my top 10. But the story is pretty generic, right? But it's not the story, it's how it was executed. And something that Mad Max Fury Road had that Mortal Engines does not have is the characters, right? In Fury Road, the characters and the execution of the story is really what made it great. And Mortal Engines, it's kind of like on the opposite end of the spectrum, because it's like all the action is there, and it's so visually entertaining and it's so epic and everything, but the characters, you might as well have just replaced the characters with CG too. I mean, they're kind of like, what the characters kind of reminded me of was video game cutscene characters. How, like, the characters in video game cutscenes are just there. And, like, they kind of just, they speak, and they're doing things, but there's no depth. I wanted to see way more depth and way more emotion to these characters, more backstory, more story in general, with everything that was going on. And it's like they focused too much on the action and everything else kind of fell behind. Now, with all that said, though, this movie does have two absolutely amazing qualities. It does have two great things going for it. And no surprise, its visual element and its soundtrack element. This movie is extremely visually entertaining. I mean, extremely visually entertaining. It is pure eye candy. It is so epic, and the action is so well done. And to go along with that is Junkie XL is the one I believe who did the soundtrack again here. Amazing soundtrack. I'm continuously amazed at how this dude continues to compose music. I mean, he's got to be the most epic composer on the planet next to John Williams. Not talking about intricacies and stuff like that, but just sound, just the pure epic sounds that he gets out of himself. It's just absolutely stunning to sit there and listen to the soundtrack. And that combined with the visual element of the movie's got a lot of style, and there's substance to that style. There's a nice steampunk kind of feel going on, and also a lot of Star Wars elements too, which I found to be very nice, being a Star Wars fan. So it's got those two things going for it. It's got these two amazing components for it that are really driving the entire film, but that's all there is. It's just visually entertaining, and there's a great soundtrack. And if that doesn't bother you, you'll probably like this film, but there's got to be more than that for me. I need more story, I need more characters, and it just wasn't there. So guys, that means for an overall score, I'm going to have to go with, we'll call it a mediocre score of Bam, 55%. Yeah, guys, unfortunately, 55% is all I've got. And like I said, that's a disappointing score, man. That's a disappointing score. I was really, really looking forward to this movie. I was hoping it would be in the 80, maybe even the 90 percent, but it just wasn't there for me. So 55% is all I've got. But I do recommend that you go see this movie in the theaters. I do. I mean, especially in IMAX with a nice big screen and a sound system. That is how you need to see this movie. It's a fun watch with friends, so I do recommend that you go see it in the theater. But again, it's all visuals and sound. So if it doesn't bother you that there's no characters and no story, you'll like this movie. But if you need a movie that has story and has characters, stay away, wait for it to come out on Netflix. Well, my friends, that's going to do it for this Fresh from the Theater reaction to Mortal Engines. Now it's time for you guys to leave all of your thoughts, opinions, and your scores, of course, down below in the Great White Void with all the other amazing things that go on down there. And as always, until next we meet, take care. And now it's time for me to turn Maine into its own mortal engine. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you, you think I'm joking around about this stuff. You think I'm joking around about this stuff all the time, You think I'm joking around about the things that I do. About the things that I plan to do with my life. This is my life. This is my life in Maine, and I'm going to protect it. God, this dish towel smells terrible, Jesus. Hello everyone, it is your dear friend Mr. Gallows. Please, please stop your suffering. You are no longer required to make sandwiches like this. My channel, it provides all of the material you need. Movies, food, Star Wars, music. It's all right here on Studio Gallows. So please hit that subscribe button and end your suffering.